What's up, guys? It's Fido from Get Money Coding, and today I wanted to talk about a topic that I've been thinking about quite a bit in the past few weeks. And this topic is related to how AI is changing how we do software development. And as I've gotten the opportunity to work with some of the available tools like LangChain, as well as OpenAI's API, and also been using a Copilot assistant by the name of GitHub Copilot insofar as my workflow for development. I've come to think that the trend in the market, and what I define as the market, is the software industry in and of itself. And insofar as the trend is what technologies are is the software industry leaning toward insofar as the future. And it seems to me that what's happening is that software development is moving away from just individuals like you and me being able to write lines of code to who is good at being able to, or who is the best at being able to wield these different AI tools to get whatever problem they have in front of them resolved. And that is a difference in paradigm where it used to be a specialty skill set to be able to code. I think that in this decade, that specialty skill set is going to decrease in value. And as I said, what's going to increase in value is your ability to understand the context in which you're working in, and based on that context, apply different models to resolve a given problem. And what I've learned from working with these different narrow AIs, these different narrow artificial intelligences, intelligence, I don't know what the plural is of that. But point being is that what I've learned is that there's different modalities. There are AIs that are really good at reading images. There are AIs that are really good at generating images. There are AIs that are really good at generating text. It really depends on what your given scenario is, or what your given problem is, or the problem that you have in front of you will dictate or help guide you toward the kind of narrow AI that you'll be utilizing to solve it. And to me, that space in which you're doing that is finding a problem and mapping the right model to solve that problem, to help you solve that problem. That's almost a new profession in and of itself that doesn't really exist currently right now, but I can see becoming increasingly more and more relevant. And at the highest level, this can be something like a AI CEO, or I don't know, not an AI CEO. It would be something like it would be something like a CTO, but a CTO that is very knowledge and competent around what is available insofar as AI solutions. And I think a person who can do that, even at lower levels, like the guy that's actually in the trenches looking at these different systems, sometimes looking at code, that person is going to have to have a good knowledge of what tooling is available to them to be able to solve a given problem. Kind of like today as programmers, we look at different libraries for different use cases depending on what the nature of the problem is that we have. It's going to be the same thing almost, except instead of just looking at the latest and greatest programming library, we're also going to be taking into account what models are going to best serve us, right? And of course, I think this is just a trend that I'm picking up on, and I don't think that it's set in stone that this is how things are going to turn out. There's a lot of unpredictability related to this technology, just like any other technology before it. So I think the best that you can come up with when you do a video like this is a really good guess. As I was editing this video, it occurred to me that I wanted to emphasize this point a bit more. And that is to not trust anything that I tell you guys I want you guys instead to go ahead and verify what I'm telling you yourself, right? And there are two main ways for you to be able to do that. One is to go and do the research. Go and take a look at what's out there in the market, how these different companies are applying these technologies, and you yourself come to your own conclusions. That's what I do here when I present in front of you guys, is that I've done quite a bit of research, and then I come to you guys with all that information compressed and ready to deliver to you. Nonetheless, I want you guys to check for yourselves, because it's much different when you see it for your own eyes. Now, the second way that you can verify is by getting your hands dirty. You guys are coders, you guys are programmers, you guys are technologists. Go out there and implement these tools yourself. Get a feel for what's available to you as a programmer. Get a feel for what technologies are being implemented and actually go and implement them yourselves, right? That is the best way that you can get as close to truth as possible to what's happening in the market. And it's a way for you to ensure that the effort that you're putting in on a daily basis to learn and keep your skills sharp is not just relevant for today, but is also relevant for the future, right? Now, that being said, we're going to get back to the video and we're going to evaluate whether the advancement of AI is a good or a bad thing for you as a programmer. Take it away, past Fido. So is that a negative thing for development? Is that a negative thing for coders? I think it's a negative thing for coders if you're not willing to adapt and you're not willing to evolve to the skill set. And it's and those who are able to do that, those who are able to adapt and to evolve with the trends of the skill set, those are going to be the ones that are going to reap the most benefits, right? And I do think that the potential for job displacement can be there. I mean, not more than, I think that's more than likely. But I think that we fail to look at what the other side of that looks like. And the other side of it is that there's going to be a need for somebody to be in the driver's seat and through utilizing these different models or through the implementation of these models, through the recommendation of what models to use for a business. Because for a business, if you could think about it, if it's difficult for us as technologists to navigate this landscape, imagine somebody who has absolutely no comprehension insofar as technology, right? It's right now, what I see, there's like a lot of anticipation or eagerness to want to get involved in this space with artificial intelligence, but there's not a lot of know-how as to how exactly to do that. And I think as more and more businesses implement models that make them more efficient and benefit their bottom line, it's going to create potentially a almost like a cascading effect where everything, or you could say like a cascading effect where every other the businesses that start to get outcompete will be forced to make a move and start adopting some of these models to increase their efficiency and benefit their bottom line. Now, how you can implement these models to actually do that, that's I think where the value is created for us as technologists, for us as programmers, is being ahead of the curve and being researched on these models, being researched on how to implement them, being researched on how to integrate them with existing web platforms. I think it's going to be huge, and that's going to be a huge benefit for you if you can already program, because that means that you can essentially identify how a current system exists in the version of the web that we have right now, and then be a architect or an engineer that integrates these models into the version of the web that we have now. And I think that's a very valuable skill to be able to have, and it's not very clear to me what you would even call that. I've heard online guys call it AI engineer. Is one way to think of it, where you're not necessarily doing machine learning, but you're integrating these models into existing systems. And what does integration look like? I think that's a really good thing to think about. On this point of integration, I'm specifically talking about the type of integrations that you as a software developer, and my guess is that most of you guys are going to be web developers, are going to encounter. in the industry as you work with these systems and as you work with these technologies. But with that being said, there is more than just this form of an integration. This is just the one that we're going to focus on in this particular video. Integration, from what I've seen, is based off of APIs, which is a lot of the way that the modern web is built. And the reason why is because interacting with APIs, in particular through JSON data structures or more fundamentally the HTTP request response cycle, that stuff is widely used right now on the internet. And the reason why it's so useful is because you can have two unidentical systems be able to communicate with each other, because there is a middle layer of interaction that allows them to do so, right? Or more specifically, to communicate. And that's what APIs are. I mean, if you think about it, the sophistication of what something like an LLM is able to do, like OpenAI's GPT-4, or even the earlier GPT-3 or 3.5, that sophistication is abstracted away through an API layer that essentially, just works like any other API. Post requests, get requests, all those methods are standard to interact with that model. And then you can even go a layer of abstraction more and work with libraries like LangChain in Python or JavaScript. And those, you don't even need to know how to do API interactions, because the library pretty much abstracts it out, right? So you could really focus on the logic that, on the core logic that's going to drive the integration between the model that you're using and the particular problem that you're solving within, and the system in which that problem exists, right? And that is super niche, and I don't think a lot of people are thinking through it like that. But that's why you guys are here. That's why you guys are here on this channel, so you can adapt your strategies and really start to prepare yourself for the future, and the future that is increasingly becoming more and more the present, and to be quite frank with you. And the last thing I'll say on this is, if you're learning to program right now, I would say that you should learn to program with the intent to increasingly become more and more an AI expert, right? And like I said, it's not just going to be about, oh, can I code? No, it's going to be like, can I understand how to work with these models? Can I understand how to leverage them? And a lot of that will help. A lot of the programming fundamentals that you're learning will definitely help you be able to successfully implement these models. I would just say that to reframe the way you're thinking of programming as this like super exclusive specialty skill, rather than it's going to be more of a subset skill where you become an AI expert, say like an AI engineer. We could call that this position that I'm talking about, we could call it that for right now. It's going to be more like you're going to have to understand the landscape of different models, right? Which ones to implement, how to implement them, and there'll be these niche scenarios where you're like, oh shit, I actually have to write like a handful of lines of code to get this integration to happen, and that's where your programming skills are going to come in super handy, right? But the degree to which you have to go and write scripts entirely on your own is substantially decreased. I think the time where we're building these programs from 0 to 100 on our own, I think that time is quickly leaving. It's simply because of the increased efficiency that you get from utilizing these tools as you're building these integrations. When something makes your life easier and makes doing your job easier, it's very hard to do the old route, simply because, one, the old route is more painful, and then two, it takes longer. I think this will also create a pressure on companies to only keep developers that are able to produce, and if the developers that are able to produce at that quality because of the models that they're using, then the developers who are behind and are not using those models, or are not using the tooling to help them produce more code or help them produce more solutions, they're going to get outcompeted in the market, and a lot of times they're going to get let go of, which sucks to hear like that. But that's how I think. That's how I'm seeing this picture right now, right? So it's a little bit more sophisticated and a little bit more nuanced than,
is AI going to take all our jobs?
Right? I think that just stopping there, it's not giving it's not fleshing out really how to strategize in this changing market, and that's what I wanted to bring to you guys, right? And if you continue to find this content of value, make sure to subscribe to the channel. It's been a awesome ride being able to have you guys follow along so far. We're almost at 700 subs, so make sure to get us to 700 subs, guys. I am really, really excited to continue to grow with you. Thank you. And also smash like, comment if you have any questions, and we will see you soon.